We chant the four great Bodhisattva vows. Sentient beings are numberless. We vow to help them all. Bodhisattva vows. Wait. Hold on there. Sorry about that. Sentient beings are numberless. We vow to help them all. Delusions are countless. We vow to see through them all. Opportunities to awaken are infinite. We vow to embrace them all. The Buddha way is endless. We vow to embody it. So we'll start with 15 minutes of seated meditation. We chant the Gatha on opening the sutras. This Dharma, incomparably profound and minutely subtle, is rarely encountered, even in hundreds of thousands of millions of ages. Now we see it, hear it, hold and maintain it. May we completely realize the true mind of all Buddhas. Okay, so sit comfortably, and to deliver the daily dose of Dharma is our dear Dharma brother, Robert.
Hi from Brother Robert. Greetings all. So, as much as I love complex and esoteric topics, I've picked something a little more basic to talk about tonight. We're living in very chaotic times. It seems like hatred and division are having a field day and maybe a defining characteristic of this period. And this all goes in the opposite direction of Buddhism, which stresses, I think, a peaceful and mindful approach to living and stresses our deep connection with each other as living beings. So in a sense, you could say that things are not going well. But there's always conflict in the human world. There are many things in the Buddhist teachings that are a kind of medicine for specific aspects of living. And I thought it would be a good time, given everything that's happening, to go back to one of my favorite subjects of Buddhist basic and talk about the first three of the four immeasurables, which constitute the Buddhist version of love or loving. And in a world that seems very divided, the first three of the four immeasurables, those forms of love, give us a way of getting in touch with our connection with each other. And I'll leave the fourth way pretty much aside for this talk, but it is equilibrium, and it gives us a way of being steady and maintaining ourselves in a balanced state through troubled and turbulent times. So it's definitely related. So in Buddhism, to go to a slightly different place for a second, there are three poisons identified. In their more dramatic form, they're sometimes translated as greed, hatred, and delusion, and they sound pretty bad. In a simpler classification that's a little more generic, they're sometimes translated as, the first two are sometimes translated as desire and aversion, wanting and not wanting. The poison that we're focusing on here is the second one, hatred or aversion. We find ourselves at odds with certain people or certain groups of people. We're on the opposite side of the fence. We don't get along with certain people. We don't like the way certain people behave. And so we reject them and separate from them. And even in our personal relationships with people that we do like and accept and have relationships with, friendships with, or our family members, they can always get on our bad side or do something that we don't like. And there's always the possibility of a little aversion or dislike creeping into our relationships, even the positive ones. So in a sort of an obvious way, we can deduce that the antidote for hatred is love. And in the three first immeasurables, we encounter the Buddhist version of love. The three types of love promoted by the Buddha are connected to each other. And I like them as a set because they have an interesting relationship to each other. And between them, they really don't leave any room for hatred or dislike of other beings, and they're kind of a curative when those feelings arise. The three forms of love in Buddhism are metta, or loving kindness, karuna, or compassion, and mudita, or sympathetic joy. You may recognize compassion in the middle there as the most familiar of the three forms of love, because compassion is a major or maybe the major quality that is stressed in Mahayana Buddhism, of which Zen is a part. And the Bodhisattva vow to save all beings from suffering relates directly to compassion. But loving kindness is the root of compassion. It's not paid quite as much attention outside of Theravada Buddhism. And sympathetic joy doesn't get a lot of comment, even though I think it's very noteworthy. So loving kindness is the most basic kind of love in Buddhism. It denotes our care and embrace of all living beings. If we get annoyed or impatient or feel that someone is not our kind of person, or we like cute little kittens, but we hate yicky spiders, loving kindness teaches us to accept and include all those beings, even the ones we think we don't like, and see our connection with them, because we're really connected to all living things and have much in common with them. There's a lovely meditation in this regard that was highly praised by the Buddha, in which we start with ourselves, which we often leave out, allowing ourselves to fill up with the energy of loving kindness, care, and acceptance, and then project that caring energy towards an ever-increasing circle of beings. We can kind of do that all at once and just have a general projection to all living beings, or we can do more specific work with metta and start with people that we care about and project loving kindness to them, and then go out to further and further groups that we may not know as personally. And then there's the advanced exercise that's always fun of picking people that we really don't like, or that we're mad at, or that we don't think are good people, and projecting loving kindness to them. And that's a nice exercise because it processes a lot of our negativity that we really don't want to hold on to. And we can also see the good in people, even if we are at odds with them. So let's just take a second, take a couple of breaths to just feel or contemplate the sense of loving kindness for all beings, and just have a feeling of that energy for a moment. Okay. So even if we think people might not be great people, one way to combat evil is to overwhelm it with love rather than hating the people back. And so instead of generating the poison of hatred, we embrace and transform people who may be going down the wrong path with loving kindness. And that's the approach of Thich Nhat Hanh and the Dalai Lama, which they've practiced very consistently for many decades. If we do cultivate our sense of loving kindness, caring, and loving acceptance for all beings, it naturally leads to the development of compassion. Compassion is loving kindness for beings that are suffering. When we see someone in pain, we have a sense of empathy for their troubles and a desire to help them if we can. And that comes out of our feeling of connection and caring for them. We can also generate a sense of peace and equanimity in our meditations towards beings who are troubled, and wish peacefulness and awakening from suffering for them, dedicating any merit that we may generate to beings who need support. All of that is part of compassion, caring for those in need, both in our minds and hearts, and when possible, through our actions. The third form of love in Buddhism goes along with the first two, mudita, or sympathetic joy. When beings are troubled, we respond with compassion, but we don't think as much about how we respond to people when they're successful and doing well. And Buddha covered that territory as well and encouraged us to be happy with them and be happy for them, rather than being resentful or envious, or thinking to ourselves, well, those people didn't really deserve that. It would be better if I had it. So it's easy to have sympathetic joy for your child when they get a good grade, but what about the kid who always gets A's? Do we feel sympathetic joy for them? Are we happy for them because they're very successful? And what about the kid who has learning difficulties and winds up getting a B after studying really hard? Do we think about them and have joy for their achievement? So sympathetic joy is a universal joyfulness over beings who may struggle and overcome things and have success and actually have achievements and accomplishments and are happy at that time. So we have loving kindness for all beings. We have care and compassion and empathy for beings who are troubled, and we have sympathetic and resonant joy for those who are doing well or who accomplish something. If we are joyful for the good fortune and success of everyone, then we always have a reason to be joyful, and we can be happy all the time. Even though we may be sad that beings are suffering, we can also be joyful for beings that are experiencing happiness and success. Sun-faced Buddha, moon-faced Buddha, all in balance. In all these three cases, the kind of love that's generated by these circumstances, we're generating love, not hate, acceptance, not rejection, and connection, not separation, with other beings around the world. Cultivating these three conditions and projecting and generating them to others will lead to a happier world. And one more note, you may notice that these three loving qualities are not about ourselves and are not about one person over another, loving this person because they're really special, but this other person not so much. They're impersonal and universal, but they become very personal to us when we take them on and practice them. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. I've always been a big fan of the immeasurables. I've always thought of them as perhaps the top Buddhist teaching, but there are those that are really leaning towards the noble truths, and I just feel happy for them.
Exactly.
Anyway, let's go back to 15 minutes of seated meditation. We chant the Heart Sutra. Maha Prajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, when practicing deeply the Prajna Paramita, perceives that all five skandhas are empty and is safe from all suffering and distress. Shariputra, form does not differ from emptiness. Emptiness does not differ from form. That which is form is emptiness. That which is emptiness, form. The same is true of feelings, perceptions, impulses, consciousness. Shariputra, all dharmas are marked with emptiness. They do not appear or disappear, are not tainted or pure, do not increase or decrease. Therefore, in emptiness, no form, no feelings, perceptions, impulses, consciousness, no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no color, no sound, no smell, no taste, touch, no object of mind, no realm of eyes, and so forth, until no realm of mind consciousness, no ignorance, and also no extinction of it, and so forth, until no old age and death, and also no extinction of them, no suffering, no origination, no stopping, no path, no cognition, also no attainment, with nothing to attain. The bodhisattva depends on prajna paramita, and the mind is no hindrance. Without any hindrance, no fears exist. Far apart from every perverted view, one dwells in nirvana. In the three worlds, all Buddhas depend on prajna paramita and attain anuttara samyak sambodhi. Therefore know that prajna paramita is the great transcendent mantra, is the great bright mantra, is the utmost mantra, is the supreme mantra, which is able to relieve all suffering and is true, not false. So proclaim the prajna paramita mantra. Proclaim the mantra which says gate gate para gate parasamgate bodhi swaha gate gate para gate parasamgate bodhi swaha gate gate para gate parasamgate bodhi swaha. Recently, we've been dedicating merit, personal merit, to those in need. And I'll ask at some point if there's somebody that you would like to have mentioned in here if I didn't mention them to begin with. All sentient beings are one seamless body and pass quickly from birth to death. We remember those who cared for us and are gone, those who are ill, those who are at war, who are hungry, and who are in pain. May they heal and have peace. We especially would like to dedicate our service to Mike Gingy Wood, the Windwalker family. Anyone else that we should mention? Brian, Naga? Somebody?
Sure, the Guy family.
Fair enough, thank you.
I'll pray for my friend Chip. He's at the hospital.
Okay, thank you. All beings in the 10 directions subject to the greed, hatred, and delusions of themselves and others. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all honored ones, Bodhisattva, Mahasattvas, wisdom beyond wisdom, Maha Prajna Paramita. Life and death are of supreme importance. Time passes swiftly by and opportunities to awaken are easily lost. Strive to realize your true nature. Do not squander your time by night or day. And thank you for joining us, everybody.